What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripe Show. Happy belated Mother's Day to everybody out there. For all the maybe 2 or 3 mothers listening to this podcast right now, hope you had a nice day. What's up, Scott?
What's up? And happy Mother's Day to all the mothers in my family, especially my mother and my wife. It's a special day, man. It's a good day to celebrate the strongest people in our households.
Did you rehearse that?
Exactly. No, I didn't. It's self-admitted. You gotta, if you don't admit that, then whoever you are, you're not looking in the mirror.
Well, what do you think of this baseball team? Another series win. Another series just keeps happening.
It does keep happening. That's a good thing. I don't want to get too used to that, right? You can't take those series win for granted, because that's how you end up at the top of a division at the end of the year, is you keep winning these series. And especially against Tampa, it's a team that started to play better as of late, and you could see where their struggles are, but they're certainly getting healthier too. That's something I don't expect them to be. I expect them to be in the mix, towards the middle end of the season. I just have a feeling this team's not going to go away quietly in any way. So, but yeah, really good. Obviously there was a blip on the radar with the bullpen, but the Yankees responded. That was a big deal for me. I love to see the bullpen's been so good this year, like dominant this year, which is crazy. When you look up and down the roster and who the names are of the guys that are throwing out of that bullpen, but they've been a huge positive. And when they, in that 7th inning, that it was a bad inning for them all around, but the Yankees bats immediately came back and picked them up. And I love to see that as a team. I love to see that.
For sure. No, that was huge, because the way that game was trending was they're going to blow that game. And that was one of the meltdowns. So we're actually going to do something new for each series. We're going to do 3 positives, 3 negatives. And you might be saying, well, what if you can't find 3 positives? Or what if you can't find 3 negatives? Our vow to you is we will find them. Whether the Yankees sweep or they get swept, we're going to find 3 positives and 3 negatives for every single series.
I'll find the positives. Andrew will find the negatives. It'll be really easy, actually.
In fact, like when I drafted this, I had like 17 negatives and only 2 positives, and I really had to stretch it to get that 3rd positive. But we got
and we
there.
86'd one of them because it was actually a positive.
Depending on how you look at it, sure.
Yeah,
we'll talk about them separately. Getting off track here. That meltdown was one of the negatives, the 7th inning meltdown. It was my least favorite as a baseball fan type of bullpen meltdown, where they can't find the strike zone. It just seems like everything is doomed, and it's a snowball rolling downhill, and they cannot stop it. And especially now with the 3 batter minimum rule in the bullpen, you can't just go out there and yank a guy after you've seen one batter, right? You're just stuck, and they're just stuck with these guys not being able to find the strike zone. And you give up the grand slam to get the Rays right back into the game. Ferguson allowed the grand slam. Birdie comes in, cannot find the strike zone, puts batters on again. Weaver has to come in, clean up the mess. But even he didn't look quite himself. He hits a batter, and things are just looking like they're going completely down the drain, but somehow escaped that inning with the lead intact.
That's a good thing by saying that Luke Weaver came in and didn't look himself, which means that his normal self is really good.
I don't know what the real Luke Weaver is, though. So
I mean, I think I do. This year he's shown us what the real 2024 Luke Weaver is. And I know we'll talk about him, but the guy has been very good, and he rebounded where the other guys did not. We're not able to salvage that strike zone. And you're right. That's the worst thing. When a bullpen comes in the game and they can't throw strikes, it's infuriating, because that's their one job. Their one job is to come in there and be competitive and throw strikes. And they're probably in for some type of a matchup. So if you're not throwing strikes, you're not even allowing the game plan to unfold in any capacity. If you're throwing strikes and you're getting beat, that's a different thing, right? Like, that's, for whatever reason, your stuff might not be as good that day, but you're able to throw the ball over the plate. And to me, that's like bare minimum. As a bullpen guy, you're coming in, you should be able to throw the ball over the plate. But a bad day. And the bats picked them up again, which I do. I love that. I love that adversity when the team rebounds from adversity. Then it's a good thing. If you don't rebound from the adversity, you could really sulk in it, and that's when bad things happen and stay prolonged. But when you have adversity and a player on your team or a portion of your team doesn't do well, but then the guys pick them up, you can actually turn that into a really positive team building moment for the group. So I think it worked out okay for them, obviously, because they kept the lead, and then and then won the game.
Sure, if you come out in that 8th inning for the Yankees and they go down 1-2-3, there's a very real possibility that the Rays come back and complete that comeback.
Yeah,
because
momentum was
momentum.
halted immediately. Momentum was completely. The Rays were 1,000% back in the game, and I mean a grand slam. You're up 6-0, and then a grand slam happens. Like all of a sudden, you blink and the game is different. And then they get within striking distance in one run. Momentum is clearly swung in their favor now, and there's multiple innings for them to overcome that one run, but. Again, that didn't happen. So it's a moot point because the Yankee bats took care of it.
Another shout out to Jeff Nelson, who I think has continued to be really good on the broadcast. I think after Birdie threw 2, maybe 3 pitches, he identified he's flying open with his left shoulder, and that's why he's not able to locate anything. And then it was like another 4 pitches before Blake comes out and talks to him. So Nelson's up there from the booth identifying this after like 2 or 3 pitches. And like, I don't know, maybe they're just shouting from the dugout to do things, right? So they don't want to waste a mound visit or whatever it might be. I don't know the answer to that. But Nelson's been very sharp with his analysis.
Yeah, he has. I think with him and Flaherty, they have like a nerd combination that works well.
You've got to really like baseball to get through that combination for 3 games.
Yeah, but if you like the analysis and you like the in-depth, like this is what I see, and from my experience, this is what happens usually, or this is how I've overcome, or I don't know. You just get more of an insight because it's all player at that point. And I don't know. I used to not enjoy Flaherty's moments there because I think there was always an awkwardness, really, sometimes with him and play by play. But when he's in there with Nelson, for whatever reason, they're able to do it and it works. I think.
Do you know?
It's not my favorite, but it works.
Do you know why maybe you didn't like Flaherty? It's because for whatever reason he was always on like the Oakland West Coast games, and you were probably just mad it was 12:40 in the morning and you were watching a game.
Well, him and Ruocco just don't.
They don't jive.
Oil and water. It's just they're not a great combination. Nothing against either one of them as broadcasters. I don't think they're good together, and that just happens. You know, some guys just aren't good together.
I didn't appreciate the Flaherty and Nelson crapping all over Star Wars though. I feel like they spent too much time on that. I don't know if you caught that.
I missed the shitting on Star Wars. Yeah, I'm not ever down for anybody shitting on Star Wars. Star Wars is something you don't shit on.
All right, let's do the other 2 negatives before we do the positives. See, we're gonna end on top. Get the negatives out of the way. Trent Grisham's days are numbered because what is he here for? So made an out on the bases in Saturday's game on Volpe's 2-run singles. The only runs the Yankees scored, but he's just plowing ahead and he gets thrown out pickle between second and third base. The play's basically developing in front of him as he's running from first base. Like, I understand sometimes you do that to make the runner scores so that the defense, throws to third base to get you. But that wasn't really what happened there. Like, that play's in front of him. There's no reason for him to even try for third base there. And then later in that game, you made this point, like that ball to center field by Yandy Diaz. Like, I'm not saying that's an easy play by any means, but he kind of turned around on it. And if you're being acquired as like a defensive first outfielder and you're supposed to be a plus defender, that's a ball I feel like a center fielder can make.
Not just a plus defender, one of the best defenders in Major League Baseball in center field. Like that's what he is. So yeah, I mean, it was a bad read on the ball.
He turned around on it, and then he got looped around, and then he had no chance, and the ball's over his head, and he's just lunging for it.
It seemed like he should have caught that ball, but yes, and that was a moment where you need something. You need something to happen. You need your defense to catch the ball and do their job because the pitching is starting to go down.
It was a 2-run game at that point.
Yeah, it was 4-2, right? So
it was 4-2. That made it 5, and then they tacked on.
And I do think it was a catchable ball. I 100% think it was, especially for him.
And then he's got 2 hits this year, 2 hits and 29 at bats. His days are numbered.
We kind of knew that. The book on him was he can't hit, but he'll walk. He'll get his walks. And again, like this goes back to what you expect as the last guy on the bench or one of the last guys on the bench. And for him in the outfield, he's a 4th, 5th outfielder. I mean, Stanton's not even an outfielder anymore, but he's a 4th outfielder at this point. And when you have a guy that's a hot prospect coming up from injury in Jason Dominguez, who is going to need a roster spot somewhere, it's still up in the air where he's going to fit in, because I think
is it up in the air? Like they're talking over the weekend, like, oh, it's a tough decision once Dominguez comes back. What is the tough decision here?
I think it just depends on what they want from him. I don't know. But yes, Grisham is the guy that you're looking at squarely in the eyes, and you're saying, I don't know how you fit in here. You're a defensive replacement with good speed, and that's what you are. You are Tyler Wade in center field.
And I'm not saying that's useless to have on a roster. I just think if Dominguez has a good rehab and not just a healthy rehab, but also like he's looking pretty good, then there's how do you keep him in the minors and keep Trent Grisham on the majors, unless there's an injury somewhere else, which obviously could happen, like Stanton. Who knows? He could get injured. Anyone could get injured, right? So having that insurance is not going to be a bad thing. But Dominguez is going to start his rehab with single A this week, Tuesday or Wednesday. He's going to DH for the first 2 weeks. And then the Yankees have a decision to make once his rehab starts. They're on a 20-day clock because he was in the major league roster. And so that's the time you have for a rehab. He's definitely going to get time in AAA. Like that is a no-brainer. Get him, 40, 50 at-bats in AAA. If he's looking good.
That's a lot of at-bats. Do you think he needs that many, or you think they're going to keep him down there for that many?
It's like 2 weeks. Yeah,
40,
probably.
50? Yeah,
he didn't have a spring training. Like, I think so.
Yeah. It's technically a rehab, but the rehab is that will be an extension of the spring training, I guess. So
I don't know. Fine. Like if he goes 10 for his first 20, maybe you say, screw it, like just get him up here. But I think because the outfield is what it is right now at the major league level, which is good. You have the luxury of slow playing Dominguez in the minor leagues to make sure when he comes up, he's ready.
Yeah. And I agree with that. I think that is the move. That is the move. And they're going to do that. They're going to take their time because they don't need to rush him. They just don't. There's not a clear necessity for him to come up. It's not like there's a void in the outfield and he's going to be playing every day, because it's not happening.
And so maybe that is the tough decision to make. It's how much playing time does Dominguez get versus, obviously, you're never sitting Soto, you're never sitting Judge. And so then there's Verdugo, who brings us to our third negative. He has been struggling. He ended up getting the day off on Sunday. And I joked, he is playing like the man has a 3-week-old.
He got the day off because it was Mother's Day. So he's got to, he's got to feed the baby. He's got to burp the baby. He's playing
like a tired man.
That's what he's playing, like a tired guy. That's what happens. This is what happens. This is where the Major League Baseball au pair makes their money. or the night nurse that they have coming in. But yes, he does. He's one of those guys. And that's, you know what? Let him. I'm going to give him this grace period of you just had a baby and you need to get back into it. But he will. The numbers between him and Bellinger are separating a little bit right now, which I don't appreciate. So the kid could have waited until after the season, but
yeah, you got to plan that better. Have your kid come in November.
Yeah. Well, even that November is tough too, maybe.
So we're just figuring out, no matter what month you have your kid, it's going to be tough for you
over the winter. Okay. Over the winter, even into spring training is fine.
Why is November tough?
Well, early November, you never know.
I got you.
Yeah.
First week of December.
If you're throwing darts, like, you better be really accurate if you're shooting for November. And
that's true. Because if you got like a November 5th due date and then that baby comes a week early, it could be Game 3 of the World Series.
You're flirting with some dangerous territory in that season. So, and hopefully that you're flirting with dangerous territory because you want your team to be in it.
Right.
So yeah, after December, between December and April, fine.
Well, that's what he did. He did late April.
Yeah. Early April. Okay. Between them, I said.
Being able to speak a second language is, in my opinion, one of the coolest things. I am envious of people who can fluently speak another language. We all know the best way to do that is to immerse yourself in the country and the culture, but that might not be realistic for you. So the next best way is with Babbel. Babbel is great because their convenient courses fit into your hectic schedule. Lessons are only 10 minutes long, and they are handcrafted by over 200 language experts to help you start speaking a new language in as little as 3 weeks. Babbel is designed by real people for real conversations, so you will be able to do things things like ordering food, ask for directions, and just converse with the locals like you are a speaker of that language. Babbel has over 16 million subscriptions sold, plus all of Babbel's 14 award-winning language courses are backed by their 20-day money-back guarantee, so you can try it out. And if it's not for you, then you can get your money back. That's sort of a nice little perk here. Here's a special and limited time deal for our listeners. Right now, you can get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription at babbel.com/Bronx. That is 60%, 60. That's an awesome deal at babbel.com/Bronx. Babbel is spelled Babbel. Again, babbel.com/Bronx. Rules and restrictions apply. Let's get to the positives. Why don't we? Clark Schmidt.
It's what I live for. It's what I live for.
Clark Schmidt, definitely a positive.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I don't want to jinx anything, so I'm going to be careful with my choice of words. But it seems like this guy is gaining confidence in the end of his starts. I'll say it like that. He's gaining confidence. It seems, and I love seeing him every time being frustrated when he's getting pulled, because that means something's going well and he feels that he should be staying in the game. And I want him to have that feeling in every outing. I want him to feel slighted when Aaron Boone walks across that base path to pull him out of the game. I want him to be pissed off every single time that happens, because that to me means he still got the fight, he still got the fire, he still got the stamina to be in the game and be effective in his own mind. And I think that's a huge piece for him. And if we listen to Girardi, and Girardi's right about it being a mental hurdle for him to get past within the sixth inning or that third time around, it really seems like he's getting past that. He's doing all of the right things. He's going into the third time. The numbers, over the last 4-5 starts look, I promise you, they look significantly different than what they've looked like across his career. When you go,
he's actually been pretty consistent all year, though. Like he's been pretty consistent. And definitely, they've looked better in the past 3 or 4.
Well,
starts,
he's been allowed to go longer too.
He's proving he can do it. I like the way you put it. He's been able to pitch strong and finish his. What did you say? Pitch strong at the end of his starts. Obviously, that doesn't mean he's pitching 9 innings, but he's not showing when he gets to the 5th inning and 6th inning that he's just completely gassed, and you got to get him out of there because he's a ticking time bomb. More of he's still pitching effectively, and then maybe you're pulling him for a game situation, whatever it might be. Like on Friday, it was his best start of the season, 6 2/3, 5 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. That's a 1-0 game though in the 7th inning. So you're trusting him to pitch into the 7th inning, which is awesome, but you're also trying to lock down a 1-0 game at that point. So you're just playing the situation.
And to his credit, that's a 1-0 game that he's pitching into the third time through the lineup and, beyond the 6th inning. And, again, I don't know how they measure leverage, but to me, that feels like high leverage at that point
when every batter is the tying run. Yeah.
Okay. So every batter from the first batter to the last batter that he faced was the tying run, and he's pitching, away in the other team's home park. To me, that's, and the Rays know how to win in that stadium. They know how to win in that dump. They know how to avoid catwalks. They know how to, hit the airwaves just the right way.
Wouldn't you want to hit the catwalk though? Isn't like one of them an automatic double?
I don't know. Was this, I don't remember I don't remember a time when the catwalk was hit like around home plate in foul territory right there. Like it was this. That was a new one. Usually it's down the left field line. I feel like at some point it's like bad things.
Well, do you remember? God, I forget the year. Was it hit? Yeah, they hit one of the speakers in left field, right?
Yep, Hechavarria was like ranging out and from shortstop and ended up catching. It was like one of his best moments. It was a fantastic catch.
He was a defensive wizard though.
Yeah,
some cool numbers on
was
Clark
what Grisham's
Schmidt.
supposed to be.
Yankees are 7-1 in his 8 starts, so that's very good. Obviously,
yeah.
He's averaging 5 1/3 innings pitched per start, but I think that's going up with each passing start versus last year 4.2/3. So, and it's not a huge difference, but he's getting 2 more outs on average this year than he got last year. His season ERA is 2.95. He's got a sub-3 ERA, and we are approaching the middle of May. And he has the 2nd largest strikeout percentage increase in Major League Baseball this year, 21.5% last year, and this year 27%. That is a 5.5% gain. Brady Singer of Kansas City has the largest bump in Major League Baseball this year, and that's 6.2 percentage points. So Clark Schmidt, clearly one of, not just has been one of the most effective pitchers for the Yankees, but probably one of in the running for the most improved starters year over year in baseball.
The Yankees are going to have another. I mean, with these two guys coming back, with Dominguez and Garrett Cole coming back, around the same time, really, the Yankees have some interesting decisions coming up, because not only, I mean, you're saying that it's not really much of a decision with Grisham, but there's a playing time decision, I think. I'm like, where's the balance going to be for these guys? Yeah. That's what I'm super interested in to see.
I meant not a roster decision.
Yeah, but I mean, even that, like, what's the, what is that balance? What is that right balance if Dominguez is up here? Dominguez is a young player. You need him to play. You can't just sit him and play him periodically. That's not good for his development. And then obviously Garrett Cole coming back is the ace of the staff. What's the decision there? Luis Gil is pitching out of his mind. You can't take Luis Gil out of the rotation. So
unfortunately, he's going to be the odd man out, though.
You're looking up and down, and like, the one guy who's not pitching as well of anybody is Nestor Cortes. And I don't know if they're going to take him out of the rotation.
Stroman's not pitching great either.
Stroman's not coming out of that rotation either.
Because of a free agent contract. I get it. Nestor Cortes, you're right. We'll talk about him in a second, but Gil is the odd man out because of his age and situation.
But I would argue that Gil is the least best fit for the bullpen because of the walks. And if you have him coming in a bullpen situation, then that's, and part of his game is that he allows guys on base by walk. Not a good thing for the bullpen, as we just talked about. You want your bullpen guys coming in and throwing a lot of strikes.
In spring, they said there's no innings limit on Gil, right? Didn't they say that?
Yes.
So we'll see if they stick to that.
Yeah.
Because that's an easy excuse to hide behind. Oh, we're going to skip some Luis Gil starts. We're going to shut him down for a little while because he's never done this before and he's coming back from surgery, blah, blah, blah.
I don't know how that's a positive thing in any capacity, because all you're doing
I didn't say it's a positive thing. I was saying
you're getting a guy out of
hide behind.
You're getting a guy out of a physical rhythm that we know is a necessity as a starting pitcher. And we've seen that game before. We've seen that game where you're going back and forth, starter, reliever. A guy like Nestor, multiple guys, but a guy like Nestor, a veteran guy like Nestor feels like he could handle a thing like that. He's a lefty. So, when Turd Ferguson eventually gets DFA'd.
Well, while we're on Nestor Cortes, completely different pitcher at home and on the road. Home, 162 batting average allowed, 412 OPS allowed, 5 runs allowed in 28 in the third innings pitched. On the road, 293 batting average, 868 OPS, 19 runs in 25 in the third innings. What is going on here with these home road splits?
Yeah, they're pretty jarring. It's hard to trust him when he's when the splits are that big.
And the Yankees are 0-4 in Cortes road starts, and he got hit pretty hard on Saturday, right from the jump. I mean, Diaz smacks a homer first at bat. The second positive, we already mentioned this guy, but Luke Weaver. Is he the second most trustworthy relief pitcher in that bullpen right now?
Yeah, he is.
Behind Clay Holmes?
100%. I'll be the first to admit that I was very wrong about him. And when I saw him last year, I was not overly impressed. Like I didn't see a lot. The Yankees gave him a contract. They obviously believe in him. And I don't know. I think my confidence in Matt Blake and that staff and the people who are evaluating that bullpen has ticked up even another notch, because they are landing multiple guys that other organizations have not been able to really harness in a way that they are right now. And I know a lot of it is that Matt Blake loves the cutter, and he's finding the pitches that are well suited for that particular player, unlike other pitching coaches that we've had in the past where they're just get stubborn and say, you got to do this because it's part of what they teach. It does seem like the approach is more around the player and finding the thing that they can do effectively. And then finding the right recipe and the right mix for what they are. But Luke Weaver is good. And off the field with some of the interviews that he's had too, like guy is fun, loose. Like he's he's been very, very good, and the Yankees definitely, as of right now, it looks like they've got that right, and very right.
Yeah, it was like 3 weeks ago. He was kind of considered the mop-up man.
Yeah.
It was like 3.5 weeks ago. He's the mop-up man. He starts pitching better. They start using him in kind of like what we thought maybe Loizaga could be as a multi-inning weapon, where he'd come in for more than 3 outs and look really good. Then they'd shut him down for a couple days, and then they'd have him back there. But he pitched the 8th inning in a 1-0 game on Friday.
He did.
That is second most confidence in the bullpen right there. Obviously, Clay Holmes is the closer, and Clay Holmes had a kind of a rough 9th inning, had to really pitch out of it. I think he threw 36 pitches or something like that in that 9th inning. But you've got a 1-0 game. This is before Rizzo hits that insurance home run. You got a 1-0 game, and they're going to Luke Weaver on Friday night.
They also went to him as the quote stopper when the bullpen was imploding.
Yesterday. Yeah,
and they needed him to come in and stop the bleeding in a very difficult situation. And obviously, he had one get away from him in a scary moment with the fastball hitting the brim of the helmet, just a couple inches away from hitting him in the face, which is, you could tell immediately one just got away from him, and he was turning around, bending over like it, just sick to his stomach about that. But then he comes back and he gets out of the inning, gets through the next, and he's that guy. And you're looking at, what his role is now. And, obviously with Loizaga being, that 2-inning guy that they thought was going to be, well, even since Loizaga, Ian Hamilton is the guy that was kind of slated for that role as well. And he has been
bad
off his game, and not, ever since he really said he deemed himself not available in that one series, like he just hasn't been the same guy.
Yeah, he's I pulled the numbers before Sunday's game, but he had allowed a lot of 8 hits and 3 walks in 4 2/3 innings over his past few outings. Only 1 run allowed, so he was pitching out of it, but obviously that's a recipe for disaster when you're a bullpen arm. Weaver's numbers on the year are pretty amazing. 26 innings pitched, 27 strikeouts, 2.42 ERA, 2.87 FIP, a 1.65 ERA plus, and a 0.615 WHIP. I mean, he you're right. He was the stopper on Sunday. He was the 8th inning setup man on Friday. He, at certain points over the past couple of weeks, has been the multi-inning, get you through the tough sort of 6th, 7th inning bridge that is sometimes hard to find guy. He's really been an amazing weapon in the bullpen. The last positive.
One more quick thing about Luke Weaver too is that you don't. I'm pulling up his baseball reference right now because I'm pretty sure I just want to confirm. Yeah, so he was drafted in the 19th round of the 2011 amateur draft, and then was by the Cardinals in the 1st round of the 2014 June amateur draft. So this dude ended up being a top draft pick, essentially a 1st-round draft pick. So the arm talent is there, and for whatever reason just wasn't really being able to harness it. But now he's got a ton of confidence. You can tell when he's on the mound, he's got a swag out there, almost like he has the confidence that he's going to get he has the advantage in this matchup. And there's just a lot more movement on the ball. It feels like the ball is jumping out of his hand, which is surprising. It's just surprising to me, but good.
We were joking like, oh, why is Luke? Because didn't they give him like a $2.5 million free agent contract, and we're like, why? Like, because at the time we're like, how about use some of that cash for Wandy Peralta?
Right. Who was doing the radio this week with Susan Waldman? Was it Barbara?
I don't know, but do you know John Sterling did like a afternoon radio or something over the weekend on the Fan? He was like a host,
like a studio show.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. It was Saturday, I think, Saturday morning or Saturday early afternoon. Yeah, maybe I turned it on. I was like, "What's going on? Is this a replay of something?"
It wasn't. It was
no,
live.
It was live. He was taking calls.
Interesting. Maybe that's the next thing. He's John Sterling in Studio Sterling is able to.
He did say it's not like he's. There was no health issues. He said he was just like, I'm tired of traveling. Well, yeah, you don't have to travel if you just go into the studio.
Anyway, the reason I was asking is because whoever was doing the play-by-play, or not the play-by-play, was describing. I feel like he was going over the top with descriptions of players to like paint the picture. And at one point, he was like the big right-hander in talking about Luke Weaver. I'm like, wait a minute, what? Luke Weaver is not
big.
He's 6'2", which is a stretch, probably 183. So
He's a beanpole.
He's not big, not that tall, and not that big.
I
There
mean,
were a couple
6'2".
other guys that he was talking about, like their physical attributes were just off to me. I'm like, in radio, you're just supposed to describe what I'm seeing, and I feel like you're describing something very different than what's actually out there.
Yeah. The last positive is Anthony Volpe. I asked the question, has he turned it around? But I think it's also fair to ask the question, is he just a streaky hitter?
Too early to know, because what if he's just back now? What if he just hit a slump and
what is
more
back?
Positive than
what is back?
I don't know, the beginning of the year. I can't call him a streaky hitter right now. Like, the trends are saying that
we saw last year he was a streaky hitter. Though.
Yes,
this is not just a month and a half of baseball.
No, I know that, but he's a young player.
Year.
He's a young player figuring out the league, figuring out the pitching. There's a chess match going back and forth now with the pitching and Anthony Volpe in the pitching. And I think at a second year of a player, we've seen how many players have we seen go buck in their first year as a rookie and then disappear completely? Is that what we want? Or do we want to see a guy that is continuously, getting better, improving and tracking? And yes, he might have some tough moments, but he gets back on the saddle. That's what I want to see. And I'm seeing that with him. So I think, again, this year is a big part of this year is for him to find more consistency and turn, his game into something that's more repeatable day after day. But yes, he's going to go through. I mean, we're not talking about Juan Soto in a slump right now, are we? Because he went through an 0 for 8 or 0 for 10. No one's talking about that, but that's happening. Does that mean he's a streaky hitter? No, it's not even remotely close to that. He's got a track record. We know what he is.
He's got more of a sample than Volpe.
Yes, and he's a generational talent. But Anthony Volpe is going out there and obviously had a bad stretch. Only time will tell. But I can't label.
He's on streak watch.
He's doing it with the glove. He's still doing it with the glove.
Yep.
And some people don't take a lot of value in the glove and the defense of a particular player. But that man is making plays that a lot of guys do not make. And I think that if we're looking for what we all expected out of Anthony Volpe as a prospect coming up, the number one thing was his offense. And the number two thing on his prospect profile was like average to good defense. And he's proving that his arm is sufficient enough, if not, above average. And his range is above average as well. So everything that we thought he was coming up with as far as tools on the defensive side, I think he's exceeded those in a lot of ways. So overall, there's a good player there, and I think that the streakiness will turn into more consistency. But yes, he will go into slumps.
Yeah, he produced the only runs with the 2-run single on Saturday. He had the leadoff triple on Sunday, scored a run. Last 7 games, 300 batting average, 364 on base, 931 OPS, 2 homers, a triple, 7 RBIs. I like I said, I joked. He's on streak watch. I'm gonna keep my eye on him. Summer is almost here.
Honorable mention before we get into this next. Honorable mention Gleyber Torres.
No, we're going to talk about Gleyber Torres.
Good.
After this.
Good.
But first, summer is almost here. A lot of people have goals for the summer. Beach bod, get the 6-pack abs, wellness goals. Losing weight can be hard. Getting in shape can be hard. But those things can be a lot easier with Factor. Because one less thing that you'd have to worry about is eating delicious and healthy food. The Factor process is super easy. Go on their website and choose from over 35 delicious meals each week. You can also customize your deliveries with 60 different add-ons. Highly skilled chefs prepare your food. It is delivered to you. The food is always fresh, never frozen. You store it in your fridge, and then when you are ready to eat, you pop it in the microwave, and boom, 2 minutes, you're eating delicious food. I've said this a million times. The 5 o'clock hour in my household is just a complete tornado. The last thing that I have time for is, making dinner for myself, or Leanne doesn't have time to do that either. So us knowing that we can have a good meal in just a couple minutes is a huge stress relief. No prep, no mess, just delicious food. Head to factormeals.com/Bronx50 and use code Bronx50 to get 50% off. That's 50% half off. FACTORMEALS.com/Bronx50. Factormeals.com/Bronx50. Gleyber Torres, I originally had him as one of the negatives because prior to his 3-run homer in the 8th inning on Sunday to give the Yankees much needed insurance, he was 0 for in the series. He had been basically doing nothing.
He didn't play one of the games, right?
No, he came in and got 2 at bats and went 0 for 2.
Okay, well, he didn't start.
Okay. His OPS at that point was down to like 520 something, 530 something.
That's not good.
Abysmal. And even with the home run, it's at 562, which is still abysmal. Will this turn his season around? I have no idea. I have no confidence in Gleyber Torres right now. He's been terrible all year. But you're right. The home run yesterday was a positive.
The home run was a positive. It was in a big moment. The Yankees needed it. Gleyber Torres needed it. And you're right. We have no idea if it's going to turn his season around. He's obviously searching for find what it is, because last year he was our most consistent hitter, up and down the lineup, most consistent hitter that came in, and the Yankees needed him to be that because Judge was out. Stanton was a shell.
He was pretty consistent.
Sam was consistent, yeah. And then and they needed a bat, and Gleyber Torres, gave them probably one of his better seasons, especially the best one we've seen in a while. And nobody knows, even Gleyber knows. They've been talking about it. Like the guy's just is fighting to get back onto this path, and hopefully something like this can do it. Because if Gleyber Torres is what he was last year, this offense, and that's all he needs to be. He just needs to be a consistent, like a little above average hitter.
I mean, I would take 80% of last year at this point. He's been their worst everyday
really
hitter.
Yeah. I don't expect that to continue. It's just like he's not that guy. He's just not that guy. So that's why you got to look at trends, and you got to look at what he is over a career. Like the guy is a natural hitter, and he's fallen out of sync for whatever reason, and needs to get back into it. So hopefully this shot can give him boost of confidence, and he's able to he picked the team up in a big way,
sure,
and in a big moment. So stuff like that can help.
Also, off the bat, I didn't think that was gone. Did you? I thought he got under that ball, and obviously he crushed it. But I thought it was more of like just a high fly ball to the warning track. I did not think that ball was off the bat gone.
Sometimes in the trop, man, you can
it's deceiving.
Deceiving.
The dim lighting. I just feel like it's always dusk in there.
The purplish light hue from the DJ booth. It's tough. It's tough to get.
So last time the Yankees played the
Shadows
Rays
from the catwalk.
When the Rays came to New York, we were like, oh, Ben Rortvedt, he's hitting, but that won't last. Well, it's like 3 weeks later and he's still hitting. So,
yeah, good for him.
What are we to make of that?
Nothing. He's, every I'm sure at the end of the year we will see his average at 220.
Okay. I mean, you said that last time. We said next time we see Tampa, we'll see his average at 220, and he's still hitting 333.
Yeah, it's a month. He's fine. He'll be back down offensively. He's not a good offensive player.
I know. That's what makes it so confusing, Scott.
And it just doesn't matter because the Yankees catching situation is in a good spot. It just doesn't matter.
Picked it up.
Like the biggest takeaway from that was that they had, if he is hitting, they just had too many guys that were major league level, hitters and catchers at that point. We know defensively he's a major league caliber catcher, and they had a crowded room, and they still have a crowded room when you look down in the minor leagues, but there was nowhere for him to stay. Jose Trevino wasn't going anywhere. And obviously, we have an up and comer. So there was no spot for him.
I loved me some Jose Molina back in the day.
Jose Molina was fun.
He last home run.
You knew what you were getting. You just knew what you were getting every single day.
Last home run at the old Yankee Stadium.
Oh, fun fact.
I feel like I forget who it was. They were playing Baltimore, and someone else hit a home run early in that game. I think for Baltimore, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's going to be the last home run." And then Jose Molina's like, "No, guys,
hold my beer,
hold my beer. Watch this." The Yankees catching production has definitely turned it around. They now rank 11th in Major League Baseball offensively. I think we looked that up for WRC plus. Jose Trevino, the 2 bombs on Sunday, 293 batting average now, 125 OPS plus. But I feel like this is all trending in the right direction. And Austin Wells, who production numbers wise still has not. They're not there yet. He still is hitting 200, but he's got a 325 on base percentage. We saw that stat where he's one of few players in baseball to have more walks than strikeouts. The at bats are still quality. I know there was a lot of numbers, StatCast numbers earlier in the season we talked about where he's hitting into bad luck, where his expected numbers are all pretty good. Still, the production has not been there, but I expect that to trend in the right direction, even if Trevino trends more back towards the middle of the pack for offense. I still think the Yankees overall catching is in a good spot, trending in the right direction.
Yeah, and we looked at the numbers just before we started recording too. In the last 28 days, 14 games for him, numbers are in a much better spot. Like he's hitting for more power. He's still getting on base. Like that's what he was doing, and the on base percentage is even higher. So I think we were spot on with like the early season struggles. There was a lot of bad luck in there in the sense that like he was doing the right things, hitting the ball hard in some opportunities, and it just wasn't falling for him. And yeah, bats felt like he was not in a terrible spot. And I think we're starting to see him come around. Double, obviously, the other night was a good sign. And he's looking very hitterish, as our buddy Frank would say, very hitterish up at the plate. And I think he's finding it, because he struggled when he came up last year too, offensively. And that was not something that,
well, he found it after a little while. Cause I think we remember his numbers in like his last 11 or something games of the season last year were very good.
Well, it's funny because him and Volpe, similar profiles in the sense that like everybody expected the offense to be there with the defense lagging a bit. And it's been kind of the opposite. Like the book on his defense, Wells, has been much more positive, and we're just kind of waiting for the bat to follow up on what that prospect profile is. And again, like I'm not worried about it. The guy looks like a hitter. He does. And I expect him to be a good hitter in this league. So the catching situation's in a good spot right now.
Logan, that was the Fangraphs catcher defensive number that you pulled that said the Yankees are number 1 in baseball. What can you drop the definition again? Once again, I know we've talked about this and I'm just forgetting. There's like a combination, because it's an all-encompassing defensive metric. Because Austin Wells, I agree. I think he probably ranks up there in framing, and I think he's done a lot to work with pitchers and stuff like that. His arm strength, I think, is still poor. He made a bad throw recently. I forget if it was on Friday against Tampa or I think it was one of the Astros games where he just airmailed the throw. Like had no chance at the guy and airmailed the throw.
I mean, are catchers really getting judged on their arm strength anymore with the new rules and how the runner on first base can take insane leads?
No, but it's noticeable when
it's definitely got a lower
when you've got a lollipop throw.
Yeah, I understand, but it's a lower value at this point for the catcher position.
I feel like 15 years ago, arm strength was the number one thing for catchers.
It's the reason Gary Sanchez was on this team for a while, why he was behind the plate for a while.
Why was like Pudge Rodriguez revered as a catcher? Because he had a freaking cannon for an arm.
Yeah, and he could hit.
But he could hit. But like everyone was like, "Oh my god, his arm strength is so good." Jose Molina. This is just the Jose Molina podcast. I could watch a highlight reel of Jose Molina throwing behind the hitter to first base all day. Give me a 25-minute highlight reel of that.
He would control the base paths by throwing down after. And you see Trevino do that a good amount.
No one was as good as Jose Molina.
I'm not saying he's a Molina brother. Don't. I mean, he maybe, he could.
Jose was the worst. No, Benji was the second best. Yadier's the Hall of Famer. Benji was the starter. Jose was the backup.
Benji at the end. Yeah. Anyway, the Trevino throwdown, he definitely works the base path more than Wells does, and he sees that, and I think that if we're looking at like trends and how the catcher position is going to be moving forward, I think the ability to have that quick release, snap it down the first baseline is going to become even more important, because as these runners are figuring out the leads and the bigger bases and the fact that the guys can't throw over as much, like stolen bases are just going to continue to trend up, and catchers are going to have to figure out different ways to control the base paths.
Pitchers are now a much bigger factor in controlling that. So the defensive runs above average Fangraph measures a player's defensive value relative to the league average. Fielding statistics like ultimate zone rating, which is UZR, and defensive run save, DRS, communicate the player's value relative to league average at the position. But DEF, the defensive stat that we're talking about, adds in the positional adjustment so that you are able to compare defensive value across positions with different baselines. So this is an extra nerdy defensive metric, but it still doesn't say like what are the things, combines, league average, zero, batting run. It still doesn't say like what specifically for catcher. I guess it's all of the above, right? It's framing, it's blocking, It's throwing.
It's all of the above.
Yeah.
You got to do everything well.
Got to do it all well. All right. Let's well, actually one last question on catcher. Who will have better offensive numbers at the end of the year? Will it be Trevino or Ben Rortvedt?
Trevino.
And then if
No,
it's
my guy.
Wells or Rortvedt?
It's going to be Wells will have the better offensive numbers of all of them. And the Yankees will, at the end, this is newsflash, looking into the future, the Yankees have made a great decision in choosing the two catchers on their major league roster over Ben Rortvedt, who had a terrific month and a half with Tampa Bay and disappeared off the face of the planet in June and July, and no longer, and is DFA'd or traded. He's like a player to be considered later.
We got a couple more things to talk about. Whether you're a world-class athlete or a podcaster like me, we understand the importance of mental and physical well-being and proper recovery for top-notch performance. That's why we're excited Unified Healing is sponsoring the Bronx Pinstripe Show. Unified Healing is a new and super innovative global network of wellness centers powered by Energy Enhancement System, or EE System. If you haven't heard of the EE System yet, then you want to listen up. This technology promotes wellness, deep relaxation, purification, and rejuvenation. Whether you're in the New York City area or hundreds of other locations around the globe, access to a center is easy and affordable. Interested in experiencing the EE System technology for yourself? Well, then you are in luck. Go to unifiedhealing.com/Bronx to learn more and find a center near you. Just go on the website and check it out and see for yourself. UNIFYD healing.com/Bronx. No material or testimonial on the Unified Healing website are intended to be viewed as medical advice or a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment and before undertaking a new healthcare regimen, including EE System. A couple of other injury updates for us. We mentioned Dominguez. Cole threw a bullpen session with all of his pitches. This was his third bullpen session. His fastball was clocked at 89 miles an hour. Canely threw a scoreless inning for single A. They're saying he needs a few more appearances and then should be back this weekend, early next week even. So we're looking at bolstering that bullpen with Tommy Canely. And then DJ had a live batting practice session on Saturday. So
they're just taking their sweet ass time with him at this point, right?
With LeMay?
Yeah.
Seems like considering they brought they put him in a rehab game and he pulled himself out in the first inning. So
I'm just glad we're not hearing anymore. Like, hey, feels like kind of right. Feels good. Gonna give it a test. Like, we're just not hearing that as much anymore. And he's just doing the thing. And when he's ready, he's ready. That's it. Like, I just want to hear when he's ready. Just tell me when he's ready. And it doesn't need to be.
Well, you're going to hear when he's playing a rehab game.
Yeah, that's fine. But he needs to be in that rehab game. No, maybe he's going to be in the rehab game, like this or that, going to get some other opinions, and just whether it's in May or June or July, just tell me when he's ready to play. That's it. That's all I want to hear.
Well, it's not going to be May.
I don't want it to be May. I want it to be June now.
The Yankees are hitting the road from Minnesota, and if you are looking for tickets in the Twin City, then use Game Time. Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, meaning buying tickets to a baseball game on Game Time is faster and easier than ever. The Game Time app has so many great features. My personal favorites are the flash deals, so you can see what sections the best deals are in. The all-in pricing option allows you to see what the price is going to be at checkout, so there's no surprise fees. And then also those seat views. The Minnesota Park looks really nice. Never been.
It looks beautiful.
Probably doesn't make sense to have an open air stadium in Minnesota where it snows basically into late April, but hey, the Twins do it.
There's a it can go open and can go closed.
No, that doesn't have a.
Oh, I thought it had a retractable roof.
There's no roof on that field. Target field. No roof.
From baggy to no roof.
Yeah, they were like, exactly. They got such shit over that old dome that they're like, no roof on this thing. Game Time is the best way to buy tickets for sporting events, as I said, but you can also find tickets to concerts, comedy shows, theater, and much more. And the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and the same row for less money, Game Time is going to credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account and use code BRONX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Once again, create an account, use code BRONX, and you get $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Twins, hottest team in baseball. They started out a little rough. They were 7-13 on April 20th, and since then are 17-3. That is a mighty good record over 20 games.
It is nothing like a series for the New York Yankees to cool that hot streak down. We'll put a little wet blanket on that action. I know it's not the playoffs, but it's still the Yankees. And I've been waiting for years now for the proverbial other shoe to drop. Still waiting. So again, I would rather it happen in the regular season than it win
the shoe can drop in May for all I care. I don't really care about the shoe dropping in May.
But it's at some point it's going to drop. So yeah, if it's in May, if it's during the regular season, then so be it. But it's fun. It's always fun, beating them up a little bit.
I like going up against a team it's a good test for the Yankees. Like, this is a very hot baseball team. 17-3 is such a strong record over 20 games. Like, let's see how you do on the road against the hottest team in baseball.
As a Twins fan, are you excited for the opportunity?
Let me ask Kyle. I'll ask Kyle today.
Yeah, that's right. Bendujo. So, I'm curious about that because hottest team coming in, but we're like, God damn it, we're so hot. Why do we have to play the Yankees right now? Is that what they're thinking? Or this is it? This is it. We got to get over the hump. Might as well be the Yankees. This is the time to do it.
Yeah, I'm
very curious about the psyche of a Minnesota Twins fan walking into this series.
You would rather them do it now when you're playing, because if you can't, if the Twins lose this series, like 2 out of 3, like it's still a May series, who cares? But you're like, okay, we're the hottest team in baseball and we still just get spanked by the Yankees. Like,
The problem is that the playoff streak is really where the pain comes. So even if it happens during the regular season, does it really count? Probably not. I don't know.
No, nothing counts until the playoffs.
Yeah, that's the thing. So it could be a confidence boost, but I don't necessarily think it matters. It's like you know what it feels like? I'll tell you what it feels like. And this is more painful for us. It's got to be. Is the Astros.
Yeah,
the Astros. We're beating them up in the regular season. Do I care about that? Like, yeah, it's cool. It's nice. I'm glad we're doing it. It's a good thing. But God damn it, we have to beat them in the playoffs. They have been dominant against the New York Yankees in the playoffs and just end up in the World Series or ALCS like every single year, and to the detriment and to the with the Yankees watching, and they kick our ass in the playoffs. So exercising the demon in the playoffs has to happen. And I feel like Twins need to do that with the Yankees. So yeah, never mind. I don't think the regular season doesn't mean shit as far as like these streaks. You got to do it in the playoffs for it to feel in any way like you're moving past.
Yeah. Though the Yankees can keep their feet on the necks of the Twins though right now.
Yeah,
because the Twins had a 12-game winning streak, so that would have been really interesting if they were on that 12-game heater and then they played the Yankees at that point.
Would you say 17-3?
Yeah.
That's big. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of wins and not a lot of losses. So you would think that this team is going to come in and be ready to to do the thing against the New York Yankees. Mm-hmm. We'll see.
Rodon's going on Tuesday against Paddock, and then Wednesday is Stroman versus Lopez, and then Schmidt versus Ryan on Thursday to wrap up the series. Looking at some of these numbers against, Rodon actually has got really good numbers against Kepler. That makes sense. Carlos Santana has some good numbers off of Rodon, hitting over 300. Vasquez also hitting over 300 against Rodon. Then Stroman going up against the Twins hitters here, kind of looking. Correa got over 1,000 OPS against Marcus Stroman. Everyone else pretty modest numbers. Soto against Lopez, a lot of sample size, 10 for 27, 1,300 OPS.
Yeah, he was obviously in Florida for a good amount of time. But yeah, those are going to be interesting matchups. So the Yankees are definitely up for a challenge. It'll be a fun series to watch. Is Minnesota Central? So those games are an hour back, right?
Central time. Yeah, Central time and Central Division.
Well, yes, I knew they were in the Central Division. Thank you.
So
is like in the Central Division on Central Time? No.
Yeah, because Detroit's not.
There you go.
Cleveland.
See, Detroit is, but Minnesota, like that part of the country gets a little gray for me on what time it is. A little confusing.
All right, that's going to wrap up today's show, but do not forget to submit mailbag questions. The email address is info@bronxpinstripes.com. Thank you guys for last week for submitting mailbag questions. I know we already got one for this upcoming episode. We're going to do it after the Twins series in that episode. So again, info@bronxpinstripes.com.
Send them in.
And we'll talk to you after the Yankees sweep the Twins.